What does Tyrod bring to the table in terms of his experience, just his presence, and from what you've seen when you've been with him?
Yeah, I think you just kind of said it right there. Experience, presence. Tyrod is always the same. Really, all three of those guys in that room are. I think they kind of feed off each other from that perspective. But Ty is just he's seen a lot, so he's very wise. I always like to say to the other guys. He has a great perspective on things, and just knows how to kind of, keep it at the same level no matter what's going on around him.
With Tommy and what he's gone through, the last 8 weeks has been kind of a wild situation. What have you seen him as the guy who came in here in the spring and followed really all the way through up until now this week, where I'm sure he's a little disappointed, but how has he grown the most, do you think?
I'd say he's grown the most just in terms of, not that there's always a process of learning how to be a pro when you are a rookie, no matter if you're undrafted, drafted, anything like that. So he's done a great job of kind of following the other two guys in the room in terms of DJ and Ty, and just learning how to be a pro no matter what's going on around him. Same way that I talked about how Ty is kind of always like this. Right. Tommy has gone to the other guys in the room. Starts with DJ, Ty. Tommy has taken that and really taken it to heart, and it's been a good thing for him. I can't speak to how he was before that. I think he already had that in him, and that influence from those guys just made that even more obvious. So he's grown a lot. He's done a good job.
What improvements have you seen from him as far as Tommy day one of camp to now? What are some of the things you've seen improvement in from him?
Yeah, the most obvious thing whenever it's like that is just his understanding of the offense. When you come in to any offense, there's a lot going on when you're the quarterback. You get to the line of scrimmage the first play, and you're just trying to figure out, am I lined up right, let alone all the other guys. And just his willingness to work it, what everybody else has to do, what their job is, and helping them out and getting to that has been one of the biggest things. And then physically, he's always had a good ability, to throw the ball on time, accurately. And once you get more comfortable doing those things of knowing where guys are supposed to be, what they're doing and all that, those things, your strengths kind of show up even more.
I know this is a sport where, for lack of a better way to say it, the rug is pulled out from guys very often. With Tyrod, to see what he's gone through in his career, knowing that it seems like whenever he's at that point, something happens.
Right.
How does that factor into the way he carries himself, do you think, in terms of what he's gone through? You said experience, but his experience is unlike a lot of guys from what they've had to go through.
Yeah, I'd say Ty is very mentally tough. And again, I can't speak to how he was prior because I didn't have a relationship with him, but I'm sure that stuff has, sharpened that mental toughness. I'm sure he's grown from it. And I don't want to speak for him too much on it, but just seeing the way he's handled everything that he's ever been presented is really impressive. Got a lot of respect for him.
You expect me to be back?
I don't know. You would probably have a better idea than me.
I don't think about it. I think about what we got to do this weekend against the Rams. So I don't worry about it. I just try to do my job every day.
Okay, that's all I got to ask.
Yeah.
As far as Evan, obviously not a good end to his season. What do you go into the offseason thinking about him, like his future?
He just got to continue to improve. He's done everything we've asked him to do. I don't think that'll change, and we'll continue to ask him to do the same things, and that just get better. So that's what we'll do when we get to the offseason.
Regarding your future, you haven't had any conversations with Dable or Shane or anybody about that yet?
We've only talked about playing the next game.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, can you go into this offseason with Evan as the unquestioned starting right tackle based on what you have and have not seen?
I don't. My thing about that is any personnel stuff we evaluate after the season. that's an ever-changing picture just because of all the things that happen between the end of the season and the beginning of training camp. So I can't really say any of that, really. Don't know. There's so many unanswered pieces to puzzles. So
from your vantage point, what's the big picture perspective on why this season didn't go the way you wanted it to, both for your room and as an offense and just in general?
Oh, I mean, I can only speak for our room, and we just had a lot of things. We always talk about things that can happen, injuries, play. We just had a culmination of all those things at once. I mean, really, I haven't had time to reflect on it because you're in such a vacuum because you're taking one day at a time and you're playing 1 week at a time. So I'd probably be able to answer that question once the season was completely over. But just off the top of my head, we just had a series of things that happened all in a row, kind of chain reaction, and it kind of just built on us. But I felt like we righted the ship at a certain point in time. So, but I'll be able to answer that better when the season's over, and I can sit back and look at it and go, okay, here's everything as piece by piece.
Do you think you entered the season with sufficient depth?
Yeah, I mean, what we had is the players we had, and I was comfortable with who we had.
You said a couple weeks ago you didn't think Evan was going to be changing to guard. What gives you confidence he can develop into the right tackle? You think you're getting when you take a guy 7th.
I mean, he works hard. He does what we ask him to do. And like I said before, I go, there's things where people are want to rush to judgment, and I think he just needs more opportunities to show a bigger body of work to be evaluated. And that's the same thing I said a couple weeks ago. I still feel the same way because there hasn't been more reps to create a bigger body of work.
Do you think, Bobby, he got away physically from what made him a dominant player at Alabama, or is this more of a you struggle, mental, confidence, whatever? Is it a physical thing that's not allowing him to be the dominant force he was in Alabama, or is it a mental thing?
I just think if you look at first year as a rookie year, every rookie has a learning curve, right? Then year 2, there was injuries and things of that nature. So I just think that there wasn't enough consistent opportunities, and that's really what I think is, the main cause. And like I said, every year you step back, you go, okay, after his rookie year, we stepped back and we looked at all the things and okay, here are things you need to work on. He attacked them, came in, started training camp well, had some things happen in training camp, and that's kind of where it kind of started from there. So we'll do the same thing. We'll step back. We'll look at the second year. We'll look at what he did do positive. We'll look at the things he needs to change, and he'll attack it. That's one thing. He does what we ask him to do.
Were you expecting to get him back down the stretch here?
I wasn't uncertain. I don't dive too much into that. Basically, the way I handle that kind of stuff is they tell me that the people that deal with the injuries tell me day-to-day, this is what he can do today. I try to deal with it because I have so many guys to deal with on a daily basis that are available that I just kind of go with what they tell me on a daily basis. I have no idea kind of when a guy gets hurt, they tell me what he can do that day, and that's kind of what I do. I don't try to speculate or anything like that because as a coach, you always want your guys back faster. You just don't know when they're going to be, how's each guy going to respond. I had a coach that I coached for in college used to say you have to know what kind of injury the player has and what kind of player the injury has. Some guys heal faster than others, some guys don't. Sometimes things pop up. So I mean, I didn't place a timetable on it. I just went with what they told me. Thanks.
Is there anything you can point to that he did, improve from rookie year to year 2?
I thought one of the things we asked him to do better was just work on his contact balance and playing balance, and that was something that I saw marked improvement from year 1 to year 2. I mean, that was a big thing for him, and I thought he worked his butt off on it, amongst other things. But that was one that was really jumps out, in film because you see there were things you could see on tape where like that is a definite improvement. That was a definite improvement, and I think it started from that one thing.
Is it like we see 10.5 sacks, first Giants since 2018 or whatever, but is this just the beginning basically?
Yeah, I think it's another guy where you just look at every area where he's developed, and that sack number obviously, especially that point mid-year where he's top 5 in the league in sacks, like that's really our vision for him in that role, but also just continuing to build in everything that he's doing. And the one area probably as a coach that myself, Wink, everybody would say they're proudest of his development is his leadership ability. Like he is a legit leader of our defense now amongst other guys that are that way, and that leadership's going to pay off, and to become that leader through this level of adversity that we've faced as a team this year and keep your head up and keep grinding through all that is incredibly valuable because we know we want to, attack these next 2 games and get a full steam ahead into the offseason, and he's a guy that we're going to rely on for that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Drew, how is he handling some of the games where, like, he's not having a loud game?
Yeah, I think he's so team-driven and team success-driven that obviously that's what frustrates him probably more than anything has been the outcome of some of the games where he hasn't necessarily produced. But I think, you look at the Green Bay game where he may not have had as many sacks, he takes the ball off the quarterback there on the scramble play. So there's just there's little ways that he's impacting these games, and you understand, hey, some games it's just not going to be a game where we can pin our ears back and go based on the situations and what teams are doing, if they're chipping, if they're sliding, and he's drawn a lot of attention in those situations. So, but you love his effort level. He keeps going to the ball. It continues to improve in the run game, and he just he keeps a positive demeanor and he keeps leading the rest of the guys in that room and on our defense.
How did Fox look to you? He's gotten fewer opportunities this year than he did last year. Gets in the lineup.
Taman is, he's a grinder. He works really hard all year really on the look team, special teams look team, and you feel like he is a guy that continues to improve, and he's a guy that you really like as a coach because he does anything you ask. He's selfless. Some of the things that he did in the Philly game, a lot of contain responsibilities or taking that tackle inside for a blitzer outside. So he did a lot of that grunt work, and that's really his personality. He's happy to do the selfless jobs that set everybody else up, and that you really appreciate a guy like that's mentality.
I called him in on was it Monday or Tuesday? I can't remember what day. And I said, hey man, you had a good game. Playing against the best center in the league. Okay, and he got a little smile on his face. Okay. And then I had to, knock him off the cliff and say, look, okay, that's good. Now you got to let that go, and now it's about this week. So you could be satisfied and everybody patting you on the back, or it can make you hungrier. It counts on what you want to do with it. So hopefully he's going to be hungry and he wants to play better this week than he even played last week. But it was a good game for him.
Thanks, Andre. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
How's Dexter?
He's doing good. We'll see how he is today and tomorrow, and see how much he can go on Sunday.
Does it say something about him that he wants to stay in this thing?
He's a competitor and he loves football, and the most important thing, he wants to be out there for his brothers. The guys on the whole team and the guys in our defensive line room. That's who my group is. Ashawn's out there hurting too. And he fights through it and he plays every single snap that he needs to go out there. So, it makes me feel good as a coach that those guys want to go and put on the line like that.